Okay, next part of this, 45, 45, 90 triangles. This is one of my favorite shortcuts that we use whenever dealing with the right triangle. We're gonna look at, first off, we're gonna jump to this part right here. And we're gonna look at the sides that are opposite of the 45-degree angle, the legs. We're gonna label these X. The side opposite of 45 is X. The side that's opposite of the 90, which is our hypotenuse, is X square root of 2. Okay? We can use this ratio right here to help us solve Pythagorean theorem problems. These are special right triangles, 45, 45, 90. Okay? If you're wondering where we come up with these ratios, okay, I'm going to show you up here. Let's say we start off with the square and the sides are X length. We know that it's a square, all of them have to be the same. Then I want to take this diagonal there, and I want to know the length of that diagonal. I can do Pythagorean theorem, c squared equals a squared plus b squared, to solve this. C is the missing side. That's the piece I'm looking for. Okay, solving this out, I have two like terms. C squared equals 2x squared. And like I said, I want to solve for my C. I'm going to have to take the square root to cancel out the square. What I do to one side, I have to do the other. So C equals the square root of 2 times x squared. I broke this up like this to show you that as we're multiplying that out. Okay, because we're going to separate this now. C equals the square root of 2 times the square root of x squared. Anytime we square root, they cancel out that operation, and we're left, and we're going to do a little rearranging here, putting the x in front, square root of 2. That's how we come up with this ratio to solve. How is this useful? Okay, in some of these cases, it is very useful and very fast. Okay, it's a three-step process whenever we're working these. I'm going to slide this up right here so I don't make the same mistake that I made in the last video. Okay, now off of this, the very first thing I want to do, I want to label. I got to label this triangle out, and I'm going to label it exactly what these ratios are up here. Opposite of 45 is x. Opposite of the 45, opposite of the 90, x square root of 2. Okay, second part, solve for x. As we look here, we want to see what is paired up. X and 5 are paired up. That means that x equals 5. It does help to label. It makes things a lot easier. There's actually hardly any math involved in this. We labeled and we said, hey, these are paired up, they're equal. We know what x is. So now we can distribute that all the way around our triangle. A to B here is x, and x is 5. A to C is x square root of 2, and x, if I plug it in, would give me 5 square root of 2. So as I do the last step here, it is plug in. We're plugging in our value for x. A to B is 5. A to C, 5 square root of 2. Following these steps right here, just 1, 2, 3. Label it, solve for x, plug it in. We'll solve the next 3 problems just like that. They are this easy, okay? They do get more complicated. We're going to look at some other examples that are going to take us a little more time and a little more steps to work through, okay? But very, very helpful tool. All right. First one we're looking at right here is we have 45, 45, 90. We know that this has to be 45 because all 3 angles have to add up to 180. We go to label. Opposite of the 45 is x. X, the hypotenuse, opposite of the 90, x squared root of 2. Second step, solve for x. Well, in this case, x square root of 2 is paired up with 4. X square root of 2 equals 4. and we want to solve for x. Okay? We're going to look at this as x times the square root of 2 equals 4. And I want to break this up because I only want to solve for x. I want to isolate my x. Opposite of multiplication is division, and that cancels out. But if I divide on the left side, I have to divide on the right side. Okay, now we're stuck here with a square root on the bottom of a fraction, and that's something that we can't have in math. So we're going to clean this up. We're going to multiply by 1, because when you multiply by 1, your value doesn't change. Okay, but we also want to multiply by 1 and give it a facelift. So what we're actually going to do is take this bottom number here, multiply the top by the square root of 2, and multiply the bottom by the square root of 2, and any number divided by itself is 1. So we're actually not changing the value of this 4 square root of 2. What we're going to do is give it a facelift. We're going to change the way it looks. 4 times the square root of 2. Now on the bottom here, the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 actually is the square root of 4, because you multiply what's inside, but the square root of 4 is 2. There's one last thing that we have to do right here, and that is to simplify this. So we have to simplify 4 divided by 2 is 2 square root of 2. So we get x equals 2 square root of 2. So now we're in a good spot because we know what x is. The last step is plug it in. A to B is x. X is 2 square root of 2. B to C is x, 2 square root of 2. Okay, continuing these notes. I was scared that somebody was going to walk in the room and I was going to mess up my recording, so I paused it and restarted another one here. Continuing these notes. First step, label. X square root of 2. Second step, solve for x. It's paired up, they're equal. X square root of 2 equals 3 square root of 15. We are going to repeat the exact steps that we did up here. I'm going to divide by the square root of 2. What I do to one side, I have to do the other side. I can't have a square root on the bottom of this fraction. I'm going to multiply by 1. The only difference is we're going to give it a facelift. We're going to multiply by this number 1 by using this number that's on the bottom. Across the top, 3 square root of 15 times the square root of 2. On the bottom, I can look at it as that. Okay. Now, as I multiply this, multiply what's inside here. X equals 3 square root of 30. And on the bottom, the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 4, which cleans up nice and neat to 2. We could leave our answer in this fraction form. We could also go ahead and simplify 3 divided by 2 and get 1.5 square root of 30. But that's our x. Third step, plug it in. A to B is x. That's going to be 1.5 square root of 30. B to C is x, 1.5 square root of 30. Those are our answers. Okay? This is the math part that we have to do. 4. First step, label. Second step, solve for x. X square root of 2, and x. There's our label. Those are the two that have to be equal. X has to be 2 square root of 3. We didn't have to do any math to solve for x. We knew it by our ratio here that we got from our labeling. B to C is x. So I can go ahead and say, well, x is 2 square root of 3. Okay, but A to C here is going to give us some issues. So let me change this. A to C. It's going to give us some issues. If AC on our ratio is x square root of 2, I cannot forget x is this whole thing, and I have to plug that whole thing in for x. So AC will actually equal 2 square root of 3, that's the x part, times the square root of 2. Mathematically, I can multiply these square roots together. 3 times 2 is 6, so I have 2 square root of 6. We can't take the square root of 6, and it doesn't simplify, so we'll leave our answer for A to C as 2 square root of 6. Thanks, guys. Thanks for paying attention. Like I said, I'm sorry I've been gone for so many days, but the new baby girl, she's precious, and spend some quality time with her. Also, want to let y'all know, when we look at these 45, 45, 90 triangles, these Pythagorean triples, okay, they are shortcuts. And I know that as you look at this, you're thinking, Coach Lambert, this is math. This is rough, okay? Through practice, you're going to get to a point where you can solve these type of problems really, really fast. There is a pattern in here that happens every single time that can make you solve them just as fast as you solve that first 45, 45, 90 triangle right here, okay? So remember how easy they can be. And we're going to practice this up. We're going to have some good work in class when I get back to clarify a lot of this stuff up. Sorry I've been gone. Best of luck. We'll see y'all possibly Friday. If not, it'll be next week. So enjoy your time away from me. I'm trying to enjoy my new baby girl. So y'all have a good day.